not your counselor, and yet they leap in and tell you what you should care about from 2 to 3:25 on Tuesday and Thursday, right? They tell you what to care about. They put it all together for you and said, now you just care about this, and then you just care about that, and then you just care about this and this and this. And you say, yes, ma'am. Thank you for setting this up and having this already. Now I just have to jump through these hoops to get what I really want, right? Leaping in. But who told you that getting a diploma is something you should care about? Did you decide that? Maybe. I think somebody leaped in there too. Just a lot more people leaped in. Like it starts when you are in kindergarten, maybe. People are already shaping your care about a diploma. And it goes through every single grade. Every year after year after year, your care for what you do at this stage has already been left in and shaped for you. Right? Just how it is. What sort of job you want to have. Look at any assignment you have made to yourself or could possibly make to yourself of what you want to be someday, and you will see being with is already there, and being with in that way in which someone has leapt in for you. It's already happened. You didn't decide what you needed to take in order to get a diploma. Somebody else decided that for you, and you just take it over. Call it my diploma. Sure, it is yours. It's yours in that way that everything that's yours when people leap in and give it to you. Just like my science project. My car. Did you make it? Did you make this thing matter? No, it's the whole context of the world of being with others. Right? They leaped in. Ford, Chevy, Toyota. Give you this little thing to care about. Okay, so on contrast to that, what you should see is leaping in is just the norm. This is what happens. It's how we live our lives with others most of the time. In fact, it is extremely rare that anyone is decent enough a human being and aware enough of a human being to try leaping ahead. Heidegger, I think, thinks being in time is doing this. I, in my most delusional moments, think teaching an ethics class can be about leaping ahead. But again, understand, you don't see these things, just like you don't see the ready-to-hand nature of equipment and the world that's behind all of that until it breaks down. So you don't see them leaping in until it breaks down, and then it becomes conspicuous, and you hate them for doing it. Like when they make you take a humanities class and you want to do business. So why do I need to take a humanities class? They're leaping in very conspicuously then, right? Breaking down, but you don't notice, oh, my whole life has been people leaping in. That's what it is to be in the world with others. You just think, at this moment it's becoming conspicuous, these jerks. But the background on which you live your whole life is this. It just became conspicuous for a little while, like when the ready-to-hand breaks down, it becomes conspicuous. Most of the time, it just functions. It's just the way you live. You don't even see it. It's the closest thing to you. Heidegger makes a joke about it. You probably won't see it as a joke. It's a joke like this. Sometimes your glasses can be the closest thing to you, and you'll forget that they are there, and you go around looking for them. That's how leaping in works. It is so much what you are. You are, I'm going to say this in a really provocative way if I can. You are essentially the sum of everybody's leaping in for you. Why do you let them do that? Because it's a whole lot easier than you trying to figure it out for yourself. You are more than happy to let others leap in. And just think about that 10-year-old who could care less about doing a science fair project and has no idea why it's important. Fine, Mom, you do it. I'll take it in. I'll even be proud of it. Yeah, this is my science fair project. Once my daughter, when she was at Marion, she was taking a Latin class, and she had to do a Latin diorama, make like a little house. And so we had fun building this little home, and we did 3D stuff, and I was taking classics at the U of C at the time too, and so it was interesting for me to learn about all this. And She still remembers that fondly, even though I did a whole lot of leaping in. Because if I'd left it to herself, probably would have been done. I'll use another example of my son. My son, he didn't care if he got his Eagle Scout, being an Eagle Scout, right, in Boy Scouts of America thing, right? But it was really important to his mom, mildly important to me. Whole lot of leaping in to get that done right at the last minute. Like when you turn 18, you can't get your Eagle Scout anymore. He got it approved. We did his Eagle Scout project, this major project you're supposed to do. I essentially dragged him out of bed and made him go and do it, and did it with him, like side by side, the last possible day that it could be done. And now he'll run around and tell everybody, I'm an Eagle Scout. And that's great, that's good. This is how we live our lives. Leaping in happens all the time. It's everywhere, it's in everything. It's the reason you're here. It's the reason you're getting a diploma. It's the reason you have whatever it is that you want to be, when you want to be, whatever you want to be. Heidegger says this also turns out to be incredibly inauthentic, and we'll see why as we go. It sounds really awful. Nobody likes this, to think of themselves, but I guarantee you, if you are honest with yourself, you will see that your life has been dominated by others leaping in, and you don't even have any idea what it would be to make life for yourself. Can't even conceive of it right now. And I don't mean that in a really negative or condescending way, even though it sounds that way. Leaping ahead is when people clear space for you to figure it out for yourself. When they try to disburden you of all the leaping in that has happened. Probably the only way this happens in any genuine sort of way is when people point out all the leaping in that has happened and then say, now what? Right? When they bring you to an awareness that who you are, the who of being with others, is the who that has been dominated by leaping in. And it started when you were first born. Had to. How in the world could you otherwise have survived unless people leaped in and said, eat this, care about that, become this, share with others, be nice, don't draw on that, draw on this, sit here, you're in timeout. All of this is leaping in, but how could you raise a kid without leaping in? It's impossible, right? It's impossible. So leaping in is just the norm. Leaping ahead is you clear space. I'll read you what Heidegger says about leaping ahead. All right, we're going to read here what leaping is. This kind of solicitude takes over for the other that which he is to concern himself, that with which he is to concern himself. The other is thus thrown out of his position. He steps back so that afterwards, when the matter has been attended to, he can either take it over as something finished and at his disposal, or disburden himself of it completely. In such solicitude, the other can become one who is dominated and dependent, even if this domination is a tacit one. That is, it isn't known, you don't see it. Nonetheless, you're dominating others, and remains hidden from him. This kind of solicitude which leaps in and takes away care is to a large extent determinative for being with one another, and pertains for the most part to our concern with the ready to hand. In other words, almost all equipment, almost all in order to, is the product of people leaping in. That's how come things have significance. You've been dominated by leaping in, right? In contrast to this, and now we're going to get to leaping ahead. In contrast to this, there is also the possibility of a kind of solicitude which does not so much leap in for the other as leap ahead of him in his existential potentiality for being. Now, what does that mean, existential? Not existential, but as existential potentiality for being. So here you're leaping ahead of someone in their existential potentiality for being, which means their actual experience of being in the world, right? The way they are being them. That is, them walking in their own shoes way of being, right? Their care. Their being an experience of their own care, right? You're trying, in this sense, to preserve for them the right and the power to choose what they care about on their own. But here again, if someone has only been dominated by being leaped in all the time, how do they know what they care about on their own? They don't. They have no idea. They would experience this as absolutely frightening, terrifying. We want someone to tell us how to be successful in life and just tell me what steps I need to take. And if they say, you can be whatever you want, we're like, no. That isn't it, right? Now, we do this not in order to take away his care, but rather to give it back to him authentically as such. And this is an important statement, for the first time. What is Heidegger here assuming then, up until now in your lives? No one has ever done this for you. No one has ever freed you up to care for yourself, and this would be the first time somebody ever leaps ahead. This does not happen often. There aren't people who will do this. This kind of solicitude pertains essentially to authentic care, that is, to the existence of the other, not to a what with which he is concerned. It helps the other to become transparent to himself in his care and to become free for it. So the only way you leap ahead is by helping someone see that they are care. That's all they are. When they see that all they have in this world, the only thing that makes them them is care, that's when leaping ahead happens. But not only that, do they help you see it, you help you feel like you can take control of it. It's one thing to show someone that they're care, but what do you do about it? You can't do anything about it. They already took it away from you. Too bad. Go ahead. Be nice little automatons. Right? You're part of the machine. This is, look, if you want to know, we're going to get even further into this. The idea that you're just a brick in the wall, that you're a cog in the machine, that you're just a tool, this is where it's, the first person to call our attention to this way of thinking about being a person in this world is Heidegger in Being and Time. This is where that starts to unfold. This sort of sarcastic recognition that we are all just tools being used by others, right? This is where that all starts to get voice. Our time is up. So, we will finish, we will get to these. This is just the ways that leaping ahead happens, right? Leaping ahead happens by being considerate of others and exercising forbearance. And we'll talk about what those two mean. And then we'll talk about distanciality in the day and move on from there. Getting into good stuff.